state your name. This is not a question, but an order.
Shane Hooker, are you the police now?
Okay, so how old were you during the more active area of the Cold War? I know that
I was born probably in the active or near the peak of the Cold War.
Mm.
So I grew up at a time when everyone knew about the Cold War. So it was a matter of just kind of growing up in that environment. You were aware that, oh, there are people called the Soviets, and they are our enemy for some reason.
Did you ever have to do bombing drills in school?
No, we didn't do bombing drills.
Mm.
But my parents did bombing drills, and I still watched a lot of shows where they showed people doing bombing drills.
Well, you said your parents did bombing drills. Was that like a work environment sort of thing?
No, I think it was in their schools that they would practice, where they would have a alarm go off in the school, and everybody was told to get underneath the tables, as if that would help.
Yeah. So movies of the time tended to be very anti-communist. Can you thinking back, think of any movies that you watched that make you think, yeah, this was propaganda?
Oh yeah, I mean there was Rocky 3, 1, 2, and 3. But 3 was the one where he fought the Russian guy, and it came at a time too where we were. I used to like watching the Olympics a lot, so of course it's country versus country, and so everybody was like, "Yay, USA, USA!" And you always have to have someone that you want to root against the most, like Red Sox, Yankees. So everybody was like, "Boo, USSR!" But the Rocky movie where he fought the Russian guy, Ivan something Orosky, whatever, was very built on the whole propaganda of Soviets are awful and want to see an end to all American way of life. And so Rocky must win.
Rocky must win.
Rocky must win.
Because this wrestling match decides.
It was boxing. Wrestling was a whole. They actually had characters who were Russian, and specifically so that you could boo them. I'm trying to remember what the guy's name was, but there was definitely Russians that they would interject into that whole wrestling scene. And then, of course, I went to a high school where the mascot was the Wolverines, and they had Red Dawn, the original Red Dawn, which is not the remake Red Dawn. This was the Patrick Swayze Red Dawn, where a bunch of kids, get invaded by Cuban Soviet communists, because that can happen. And they paratroop down and start just invading the school for no apparent reason and shooting all these people up. And so everybody was like, Wolverines! And that was definitely propaganda built. And it did inspire me to go onto a hill and yell Wolverines.
Very fun. So is there anything that was considered normal thinking back then that now you could say was definitely influenced by the war?
I think mainly that there was a stereotype that communism, or I should say communists in general, were evil and trying to destroy us. So there was that notion, but once you recognize what it actually is, it's just a different economical and political system, which appeared not to have worked right for the Russians. So if there's anything that's different, I would just say that the notion that a person who is a communist is, has some sort of malice. That is not accurate.
So because we know granddad's, granddad. Do you ever remember grandma being anxious about things going on? And was there a sense of paranoia among adults?
Growing up in the South, I don't necessarily think there was a lot of it within my family. There was not a great deal of focus towards communism and concern. But my mom did work in the military, so we were aware of different things that were going on. But at the time of the you know, I was growing up, we didn't have per se wars that were directly involving Russia. We definitely had um, engagements where the Iranian arms scandal, for example, Oliver North, that was like a big topic. Actually, because one thing, Oliver North lived in the house in our neighborhood at one point in time in his career, because um, right next to Marine Corps base called Quantico. So everybody knew who Oliver North was and was following that story a lot. So it was all a great big interest as to whether or not this person was selling arms to, you know, Russian military aids and all that.
So, just for fun, did Granddad ever share any opinions?
Granddad always shared opinions, but they really made no sense. And usually it would just be utter of words. Actually, it was mostly my grandfather on my mother's side who would literally say "damn communists" and "commies" and things like that. But yeah, I don't recall a big anti-communist, but more pro-USA.
Yeah.
So that was what I kind of grew up in.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.